All right, I'm going to make something new here for now on called the Bad News Show proper. I know we're going to have the bad news forecast and we're going to have the bad news show. So I'm going to write the Bad News Show in the title. You know that I'm not necessarily giving a forecast for Canada. I'm just talking about bad news. And it seems like a lot of people in Canada, and ever since Facebook restricted access to news, have a lot of trouble finding what's real and what's new and what's going on, whatever. And so one thing I have to automatically reject is this comment here that came up this morning. And I think it's really important that I do. We will find out something here. Joey is experimenting for us. Can a weather career go forward whilst the weatherman is completely hardcore politically left and likes raging and cursing? Can mixing weather and politics do well? You think it's like everyone's either on this side or on that side. And I'm not really on anybody's side, right? I've never really been a fan of Trudeau. I'm not a Biden fan. I have lots of criticism about them and them making war around the world. I'm not on anybody's side. I like to speak out about truth, and that's hard for you to understand when someone isn't this or that. I'm not this or that. You know, maybe you could lump me into left-wing circles, sure, but that's not really my motivation. That's not really what I'm not a partisan hack who's sitting here telling you, vote left, become a commie. That's not my fucking game, and I'm not into that at all. I'm Joey Only the Artist, and if you look at my history in my career, I put out 7 albums with my band, 6 of them that were far printed. And go back to 2004, Look at some of the records I put out. Joey Only, Radical Folk of the Great North. You think this is new, that I'm some kind of a fucking radical? It's not. Nonetheless, it's not my motivation. I just like to talk about what's real, what's true, what's happening, and call bullshit on things. So yeah, I call bullshit on Elon Musk. It's not because I'm some left-wing fucking kook. It's because I fight a lot of wildfires in my life, and I know that what these people are saying is absolute horse shit. And if you want to just keep eating up horse shit, that's your fucking problem. But that's not what's going to be going on around here. I'm going to say what I want to say and how I say it, and you either like it or don't like it. You either leave or stay. You know, that's up to you. I'm not trying to get 1 million subscribers here. I'm trying to sit here and do what I want to do in the world. I want to sit here and say what I want to say. So here is the Bad News Show for today. Let's go. There it is. This is bad news.
My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Get on!
Wow.
I'll watch the video later.
Keep on going to the water.
They try mopping this. So we will start off with weather because I am your weatherman. Highway 1697, Williams Lake, Quesnel, McGregor. Frontal systems bringing mix into the interior today. Freezing temperatures are hovering, and we have mixed precipitation. Freezing rain expected over central interior regions this morning up to Hay River. We got a freezing rain warning way up there in Hay River. Northwest Territories. Completely weird. Freezing rain has developed in Fort Resolution, moving into Fort Smith this afternoon. And, of course, in southern Ontario, we have the never-ending snowstorm that's continuing today. 20 to 40 centimeters on the Bruce Peninsula now, 15 to 30 centimeters down in southern through Goderich and areas along the shores of Huron, down South Huron. And we'll look at that, 20 to 40 centimeters. Go up to Parry Sound where they're still looking at 40 centimeters. Man, they've been just getting slammed. Maximum record temperatures set up there in the Northwest Territories this last few days. What do we have there? Wow, look at this, man. 8.6 degrees. That smashes the old record of minus 2.5 in Fort Liard. Minus 6.2 in Fort Simpson. A little bit colder there, but minus 9.1 was the old record. That's far north. They've been keeping records up there in Fort Simpson since 1895. Inuvik up to 0 degrees. Nahanni, Butte area, 8.7. Smashing the old record of minus 5.4. Since 1957, they've been keeping records there. Pawlatuck, well, a little bit nicer there in terms of normal, but Tuktoyaktuk, minus 0.1. So just stuck under freezing. They've been keeping records in Tuktoyaktuk since 1948. Continuing there today in California, red flag warning. They had a brand new fire breakout last night. I don't yet have information on that. Into 6 p.m. tonight, gusty winds from the northeast, low relative humidity into the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County Mountains, San Gorgonio Pass, Santa Ana Mountains, and inland Orange County. The red flag warning also applies to Riverside County Mountains, San Diego County Mountains, and San Diego County Valleys, including the Trabuco Ranger District of the Cleveland National Forest. Right, red flag warning. Red flag warning. If fire ignition occurs, conditions are favorable for very rapid fire spread and extreme fire behavior. Humidity as low as 11%. Winds could be up to 25 miles an hour, maybe even gusting up to 50. So very urgent times down there in the United States. We are not out of this yet. New interactive map you can find online that shows some of the different areas of destruction. More and more this map is getting updated as we go and go and go, and you can see a lot of these neighborhoods. All these blacks are houses that are okay, I believe, actually. So that's nice. See the little legend right here. So destroyed is red, no damage is black. So that's pretty nice. And we got a bunch of black houses there, but if you look along, there's lots that did not make it. So it's a pretty interesting interactive map that really lets you see, as they keep going through more and more properties and getting more and more information on them. You can see a lot of these places on the coast just got completely wiped out. And you see this whole section here. Oh wow, just completely wiped out around Topanga Beach. So that is interactive map for you. Over here's the Palisades there, and you can see some of these, the areas have not been filled in yet. They will get to it. But this is giving you a little bit of an information. SoCal Fire Damage Inspection DINS database. And we got more and more information coming up on the Eaton fire as well. See a lot of black houses there, so that's good. But you can see if you go over to the sort of northwest side here of Altadena, you got Altadena's got a lot of burnt down houses. So and more of these properties are going to keep being added to this list. So if we check back here in a day or two or three, we're going to get an even more clear picture on what really happened there. So critical fire risk continues today. Eaton fire started near Altadena last Tuesday evening, rapidly expanded across the northern foothills of San Gabriel Valley suburbs. As of Monday, 1,900 structures have been destroyed in more than 14,000 acres. Minimal fire growth was observed on Sunday. Resources continue to construct and improve fire line. Crews will work to mitigate hazards. The entire Angeles National Forest remains closed through January 15th. Evacuation orders and warnings stretch from La Canada, Flint Ridge to Pasadena, Duarte. 11 people have been killed there. As of Monday evening, the fire was 33% contained. Meanwhile, the Palisades started at Santa Monica on Tuesday morning, rapidly expanded to the west towards Topanga and Calabasas. 1,200 structures destroyed so far that they know of. 23,000 acres. Firefighters have been working around the clock with a continued focus on building and maintaining containment lines. Off-ramps of Interstate 405 have been closed. Evacuations and warnings stretched from Santa Monica to Calabasas. 8 people were killed in that fire. As of Monday, the fire was only 14% contained. Meanwhile, the Hearst fire started at Stetson Ranch Park near San Fernando on Tuesday night, expanded across the foothills north of Sylmar. As of Monday evening, 800 acres burned. It is 97% contained. This is great news. Evacuation shelter remains in Pacoima, although orders have been lifted as of early Sunday morning. The Kenneth fire is 100% contained. So that's great news for the Kenneth fire. All evacuation orders have been lifted for that one there. Weather conditions continue to make firefighting efforts difficult. Second round of Santa Ana winds continues through midweek with gusts 50-60 possible in the foothills today. And that was articles from yesterday, but today continues. This article in the Intelligencer there, where Char Miller, professor of environmental history at Pomona College. Miller is the author of Burn Scars, History of Wildfire Suppression. She says, more than 100 years ago, that's when well enough off Angelinos started moving into Pasadena and its low foothills and what would become Altadena. Because they had cars, they could move into landscapes that we now know better than they did before the fire zones. If you take that path forward in time, every time Los Angeles expanded outward, its periphery extended from one valley to another. Each expansion included another set of foothills, canyons, and ridgelines that began to be occupied. And every time people moved up into the hills, fire erupted. That's because we bring fire with us, including cigarettes, charcoal, bricks, and cars backfiring. Cars are the engine of mobility, but a dangerous thing in terms of fire ignition, right? Fires come from electricity sparking from wires. We think now that most of these fires that have broken out in the Los Angeles areas were from hydro lines that got power lines that got destroyed and lit up. And that's not the first time. The campfire was the same thing. The campfire was extremely dangerous. Burnt down that paradise, if you recall. What about the winds that have been primary driver of these fires? They ask. We've had Santa winds for millennia, she says. The dilemma is that the climatic conditions combined with drought, which we will always have, collides with human geography of people living in fire zones. The outward surge of population, which is now a century long, has led to these very dangerous large fires that are essentially structure fires, not wildfires. Do you guys think this problem is just going to go away? Do you think every one of these catastrophes that keeps happening is because of mismanagement this way and that way? Well, that's not exactly the case. It's not. I mean, some mismanagement always occurs within human civilization. That's pretty normal, right? But is that what is going on here, where suddenly we're having the biggest natural disasters ever repeatedly because of pure human incompetence? No, it's because of human adding carbon into the atmosphere. It's a very simple thing. So researchers have modeled the term niche, the regions where temperature and precipitation have been most suitable for humans to live in for the past 6,000 years. So you can see here, niche is defined in this green color. The areas that are most suitable for human habitation. You can see a lot of that is eastern, southern United States, and very little of that is actually Canada. Maybe a little bit of southern Ontario, a little bit around BC, but it's true. Now, these aren't easy places to live where we live here in Canada, and Mexico has a fair bit of, California has a fair bit of niche places to live that are really, really great. So that niche blankets the heart of the country there in the United States, from the Atlantic seaboard through northern Texas and Nebraska and the California coast. So it's the most suitable zone by temperature and precipitation as we know it. But as the climate dramatically warms, the niche could shift northward. Under even a moderate carbon emission scenario known as RCP, by 2070, much of the southeast becomes less suitable and the niche shifts towards the Midwest. So you're seeing more and more suitable living conditions for humans, less catastrophic conditions, and no longer along that southern United States. Well, what's going to happen is water level is going to come up, and we got to increase power of hurricanes. So that's why some of these Gulf coasts, and then just temperature alone, that's why some of those Gulf coasts are going to see a change. Now, in the case of extreme warming, the niche moves towards Canada, leaving much of the lower half of the U.S. too dry or too hot for the type of climate humans have historically enjoyed living in. Both scenarios suggest massive upheaval in where Americans currently live and can grow food. Now, this is what blows my mind, America, is you are going through, you have hundreds of millions of people here, and you're going through a situation now where you are experiencing climate catastrophes one after another, and you refuse to accept that it's happening to you. So heat is the largest drivers of changing niche of human habitability, right? Between 2040 and 2060, extreme temperatures will be commonplace in the south and southwest. In Arizona, it will experience temperatures above 95 degrees for half the year. That's a lot, okay? So heat alone won't determine Americans' fate, though. New climate analysis presented for the first time here projects how humidity and heat will collide to form wet bulb temperatures that will disrupt the norms of daily existence. So here we go. Today, the combination of truly dangerous heat and humidity is rare. But by 2050, parts of the Midwest and Louisiana could see conditions that make it difficult for the human body to cool itself for nearly 1 out of every 20 days in the year. New projections for farm productivity also suggest that growing food will become difficult across large parts of the country, including the heart of the High Plains' $35 billion agriculture industry. All the while, sea level rise will transform the coasts. Combined, these factors will lead to profound economic losses. So extreme heat and humidity, 2040 to 2060. Here's what they're saying here. Then you can look at this map and you can see what it would be like if we had moderate emissions, like if we were to have some success in changing how much we're putting out right now. And if we continued on the Donald Trump plane, we just said, well, to hell with everything. This is what... So we're going to go with the high emissions here, look at it and see what it says, right? So 82 degrees can feel like southern Alabama on its hottest days, making it dangerous to work outside and for children to play sports. So wet bulb in temperatures will increase the risk of heat stroke and even death. So that's what the extreme humidity situation. So by mid-century, heat and humidity in Louisiana will feel like Missouri will feel like Louisiana does today. And some areas we don't usually think of as humid, like southwestern Arizona, will see soaring wet bulb temperatures because of factors like sun angle, wind speed, and cloud cover, which would be interesting to see what that would do for them in terms of... we only have high emissions on large wildfires, 2040 to 2071 on this list here, right? But it, again, gives you a real look at a lot of the western half of the continent is going to be really in increased fire danger as we move forward as temperatures continue to rise. Now, here's another one that's really concerning. Sea levels are rising. That does affect a small part of the continent, people who live along the coast, but the problem is most of the people live along the coast. So here's the thing: moderate emissions, high emissions, it doesn't make much of a change. So sea level rise is going to become a problem. And you see that manifest when you have hurricanes hit into Miami, New York, and Boston, where the tide is higher and we have more inland damage. So crop yields, what are we looking at that? With rising temperatures, it'll become more difficult to grow food. Corn and soy are the most prevalent crops in the U.S., crops and the basis for livestock feed and other staple foods. They have critical economic importance because of their broad regional spread. They offer the best proxy for predicting how farming will be affected. Big change in agriculture. So corn and soy production is more sensitive to heat than drought. So it doesn't mind drought as much as it does heat. And it will decrease for every degree of warming. By mid-century North Dakota, which harvests millions of acres of both crops, will warm enough to allow for more growing days and higher yields. So that's good, but parts of Texas and Oklahoma may see their yields drop by 70%. So you're going to see a shift. So economic damages from climate, rising grocery costs, rising energy costs, lower labor productivity, poor crop yields, increasing crime are among climate-driven elements that will increasingly drag on the U.S. economy. The United States, you are in trouble. You are in big-time trouble, and you're refusing to admit it. And your play is to come up with as many lies as possible, as fast as you can here from the political right, that nobody can keep up with them. That's the game now. We spend so much time now debunking and refuting your lies that it allows them to play the game into their ball court to do what they want to do. And what they want to do is bad. It's bad for us. It's bad for you. It's bad for me. It's bad for the animals. It's bad for the plants. It's bad for working people. It's not bad for the rich, maybe. That's who they serve. So compounding calamities. We see these areas where they have a long, all counties. You can look at all counties and find out exactly what they think is going to occur there. Other news, RCMP and Lloydminster, Saskatchewan there last weekend. Took a little bit of a ride up on the snowbank. Here's the things that keep a philosopher up at night. Why is it when you bake a loaf of bread, you don't bake a loaf of toast? I don't get this. Why you got to go cook it twice? It's so fucked up, man. Supreme Court allows state and local climate suits against oil companies to proceed. This is huge news in USA Today yesterday. Oil and gas companies have failed now to convince Supreme Court to stop numerous lawsuits filed across the country to seeking recovery for damage from climate change. The court on Monday declined to consider if federal law prevents states and cities from suing the companies. The fossil fuel industry said it was critically important for the court to weigh in now before it spent significant resources fighting the suits, which oil companies said are a serious threat to one of the nation's most vital industries. So they're saying they're the most vital industry. The stakes in this case could not be higher, lawyers from multiple companies told the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in recent years rejected the industry's effort to move the cases to federal court. The outgoing Biden administration has urged the court not to get involved at this stage. The Justice Department argued the State Department's court decision was correct, and because it's a state suit, the U.S. Supreme Court can't weigh in while the litigation's ongoing. Of course, Donald Trump will take a different position. But states and municipalities are suing oil and gas companies. They argue the industry deliberately concealed and misrepresented environmental impacts of fossil fuels. And we know this. We know that in 1970s and 1980s, these oil companies produced their own studies, and they were amazingly accurate. They modeled. If you look at what they said would be happening today, you'd be like, wow, they nailed it. They did. They really nailed it. They were good. Their science was good. And then once they realized their science was good and what it would do, Hegseth pressed on women and alcohol. These people are so disgusting. So anyways, that's a little bit of that. Multiple arrests on drone pilots. So you're flying your drone around. It does not belong in a fire zone. Here's a Super Scooper from Quebec there. CL-415 de Havilland aircraft there, Canadair, one or the other. And drone, as you know, hit it. So there has been some arrests made. Look at that. Nice piece of damage there into leading plane on the airfoil. Work at the public and private sector counterparts to identify the operator of that drone. So it sounds like that drone pilot has not been found yet. However, others have been. So FBI searching for our operator, that privately owned drone that punched hole in Canadian firefighting plane. Yeah, stop doing this shit, people. It's wild. It's wild to me that when there's a wildfire going on, people are out there in the lake driving boats around, and they're having to like get someone to say, hey, the planes are trying to load up here, folks. Hey. There's now a new creepy recording of orcas. They're trying to imitate human speech. It's leaving people amazed but terrified, and that's fine. What I'm actually terrified by is the things that human beings are actually saying. That's what scares the hell out of me. Meanwhile, North Atlantic sea surface temperature anomaly. Record high pre-2023 versus 2023-25. So with respect to 1991 baseline. So this is what you expect to see in the Atlantic, and this is what the Atlantic has been like for temperatures since 2023. We are into brand new, completely crazy, terrifying scenario territory, and you want to just keep saying it's about left and right. God damn you for trying to bring politics into this. This is the reality we're in now, and it's not even about politics anymore. I mean, we're forced to make it about politics because you got people like Trump there who are saying this isn't real. When you know from the hurricanes that just hit, you know from the wildfires that just hit, you know from Canadian record wildfires, you know from record storms that we've been having in Canada. We know that these aren't coincidences any longer. It keeps happening. It's costing us money. It's costing us lives. It's costing us our future. It's costing us our children's future. We need to look clearly now at the way we design, build civilization, what the meaning of life is, what we're trying to achieve as a species, what we're trying to achieve as communities, and start having a bit of an evolution towards what our goals are, and if your goal is to just keep things divided and keep saying, well, you're left and I'm right, and you're just a left-wing kook, and let's see if a left-wing guy can talk about something that can talk about weather and politics. It's like, well, your whole dynamic, your whole paradigm and how you're thinking about shit is completely fucked, okay? This isn't about my politics. Honestly, that's easy for you to simplify things. You want to simplify things because you think that helps you understand them, okay? But you don't understand me. You don't understand that I'm friends with Sheldon Clare, the conservative MLA here. Okay, you don't understand that I'm also friends with Libby Davies down there. You don't understand that how someone like me can like people on both sides, because you cannot think outside of the goddamn box that you are forced to be put into. Meanwhile, here's some good news as well. Got 1 million views on the channel right now. Thank you, everybody, very, very, very much. Also, what's going on right now is meteorologist Mark Ingalls is down at AMS. AMS is the American Meteorological Society's annual general meeting. He's there with Chris Calais. We'll hear some of that on the Meteorological Report this week. Absolutely. Yeah, we will. But here's Mark down there in New Orleans.
Hello everyone, Mark Ingalls here at AMS in New Orleans. The weather is very Vancouver-like, which I love, but it sucks because we have an outdoor pool in our hotel. I am here with rare contributor who should be on the Meteorological Report more often, Chris Calais.
Hey.
Chris, why are you never on the show?
4 kids and working shift. Now, by now that I'm off shift, I should have time to be on more often.
Chris thinks he has a life. He does not. Anyway, I'm not gonna be live this week, but we will have some interviews for you from other meteorologists here at the convention. So stay tuned for that. Have a good week, everyone.
Hello. Hey. Okay, my name is Shaquille Baxter. I am from Portland, Oregon, but I am a Houston Texan, and I am a meteorologist. I should take this gum out my mouth. All right, now we're getting serious. Let's do it.
Okay, Houston, Texas. And what is the weather that you miss the most from Houston now that you live in Portland?
From Houston, I miss the flooding rain. We get rain in Portland, but it's way more exciting when cars can just take off down the street and end up.
So after working in energy, you want to transition to the insurance industry, right?
That sounds like a great idea.
All right, thank you, Shaq.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, most people don't see this side of Illinois. In fact, I'm pretty sure no one sees that side of Illinois, but okay. Here's something pretty cool I want you to understand. This is what motivates me more than left or right and whose side are you on? This is the side that I'm on right here, okay? The scientific method. It's a process for establishing facts through experimentation and testing. This is a way of finding out what is true, okay? Research this. In fact, don't research it. I'm just joking. Research is done by research scientists and research labs. That's how they do research, okay? You want to study the research these people make, that's fine. So let's study what the scientific method is. The scientific method is, first you make an observation. You're like, well, I could think of things like this as an example. Like, well, when the front of the storm comes in like this, well, that seems to happen, and then lightning seems to be at the front of it, and heaviest rains. But then as you get past that front of the thunderstorm, often it seems to calm down, depending on if it's a really strong storm. Though, no, So I make these observations about how thunderstorm works, and I define a question like, well, why is it that some of these storms do this and some of them do that? And so I make a hypothesis. Like, well, I think the strongest ones tend to have more activity. If it's a rotating storm, then you might see some of the strength of the storm at the back. But if it's a frontal thunderstorm, you might see at the front. And so you make a prediction based on your hypothesis, and then you experiment with it. You conduct lots of. If you can't conduct experiments because it's something you observe, well, then you make hundreds of observations, and and then maybe from those observations you can make some experiments to help dial in the specifics, right? You analyze that data, you make a conclusion. So the goal is to conduct research in a fair, unbiased, and repeatable way. Scientists may sometimes modify or revisit steps, but they generally use this logical approach right here. You want me to be on the side of politics? I'm not. I'm on the side of that right there, the scientific worldview. That's really where I'm at. And still is. I get incensed by lies. I get incensed by bullshit because I get incensed by things that aren't real. I get incensed by people being fooled and tricked. I don't care if you have the same politics as me. Just be fucking honest, okay? That's all I care about. If you think, well, honestly, I think we need to be more fiscally conservative. And I say, well, no, what about spending on people? What about spending on civilization? What about spending on our infrastructure? And say, well, we can't really afford that. And, okay, that's cool. We can have a discussion about those kinds of things. That's, old school politics. But if, your attitude towards that is so biased and out to lunch, and you're like, start calling me a liar, start pointing fingers, start saying you're a kook, start saying, bullshit. Like, well, you're ruining the country, Joey. Well, no, I'm not ruining the country. I just think we need to spend more on our infrastructure, more on our people, and more on building something. And you're like, well, so then we're not having an honest political discussion about what really works best. It's like, well, one of the strengths of the Biden administration is they were built to govern, I think, a little bit more. And I really enjoyed what Jan.14.2025 had said this week about Trump. I think Chrétien was one of my favorite Canadian politicians. I don't like everything he did. I disagree with some of the things that the Liberals did during his time a lot. In fact, I was out in the street a couple times protesting. Nonetheless, as a character, I've always quite enjoyed Jean Chrétien. I've always thought he was a very, very funny man. Well, let's have a look at what Jean Chrétien said this week. I got this here. It's an opportunity to celebrate with family and friends, look back at life. I've had the privilege to lead and reflect on how much this country we all love has grown and changed since the 9 decades Jean Chrétien's been on Earth. This year, he says, I've decided to give myself a birthday present. I'm going to do something in this article I don't do very often and sound off on a big issue affecting the state of the nation, profoundly bothering me and so many Canadians. The totally unacceptable insults and unprecedented threats to our very sovereignty from U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. I have two very clear and simple messages to Donald Trump from one old guy to another. Give your head a shake. Now, I would say fuck off, but this is Jean Chrétien. He's much nicer. What could you make you think the Canadians would ever want to give up the best country in the world? And make no mistake, that's what we are. To join the USA, who's not the best country in the world. Your USA is 125th for literacy in the planet Earth, man. Okay, this is a country of idiots. You're dumber than half the planet. Do you understand? If you're 125th in literacy, that means you're half the planet is smarter than you. You call yourself the best country in the world. I can tell you Canadians prize our independence. We love our country. We built something here that's the envy of the world. When it comes to compassion, understanding, tolerance, and finding a way for people of different backgrounds and faith to live together in harmony, we built a strong social safety net, especially with public health care. We're very proud of. It's not perfect, but it's based on the principle that most vulnerable among us should be protected. I agree with that 100%. call me left-wing or socialist or whatever. This is a Canadian value I've been raised to have. So stop pointing a finger at me and trying to fucking gaslight me for it. This may not be the American way or the Trump way, but it's the reality I've witnessed and lived my whole life. If you think that threatening and insulting us is going to win us over, you really don't know a thing about us. You don't know that when it comes to fighting in 2 world wars for freedom, we signed up both times years before your country did. We fought and we sacrificed well beyond our numbers. We had the guts to say no to your country when it tried to drag us into a completely unjustified and destabilized war in Iraq. And that's kind of bullshit, though, Jean, because you took part in Afghanistan. The Americans didn't want you to go to Iraq necessarily. They said, help us in Afghanistan. You said, okay. Take over more in Afghanistan, have a bigger role there, and we said okay. So, I mean, that's some political bullshit, but nonetheless, we built a nation, he says, across the most rugged, challenging geography imaginable. We did it against the odds, and that's somewhat true. We may look easygoing, mild-mannered, but make no mistake, we have spine and toughness, and I can tell you that even personally. I was just, I think about this, it's like, I don't actually enjoy hurting people. I don't like hurting people. I'm against it. I don't enjoy. It's wrong to hurt people. That's how I feel. However, I love fighting. Okay, so that leads to him to a second message to federal and provincial leaders and those who aspire to lead the country. Start showing that spine and toughness. That's what Canadians want to see, and I agree with this. They want to see leadership. You need to lead. He says Canadians are ready to follow. I'm not ready to follow. No, I'm not ready to follow, John, but nonetheless, we need leadership, yes. So he knows the spirit is there, he says. Ever since Mr. Trump attacks every political party is speaking out in favor of Canada. In fact, it's to my great satisfaction, Chrétien says, that even the Bloc Québécois is defending Canada. But you don't win a hockey game by only playing defense. We all know that even when we satisfy one demand, Mr. Trump will come back with another bigger demand. That's not diplomacy, it's blackmail. We need another approach, one that will break the cycle. Mr. Trump has accomplished one thing. He's unified Canadians more than we've ever been before. All leaders across the country have united and resolved to defend Canadian interests. That is true. Even assholes like Doug Ford are coming on side. When I came into office as Prime Minister, Canada faced a national unity crisis. The threat of Quebec separation was real. We took action to deal with this existential threat in a manner that made Canadians, including Quebecers, stronger, more united, and prouder of Canadian values. Now there's another existential threat, and we once again need to reduce our vulnerability. That is the challenge for this generation of political leaders. Says Chrétien, you won't accomplish it by using the same old approaches just like we did 30 years ago. We need a plan B for 2025. Yeah, I'm telling Americans we are their best friends and closest trading partners, and that's good. So is lobbying hard in Washington and the state capitals, pointing out what tariffs will hurt American economy too. So retaliatory tariffs. When you are attacked, you have to defend yourself. But we have to play offense too. Let's tell Mr. Trump that we have border issues with the United States. Canada has tough gun control legislation, but illegal guns are pouring in from the U.S. We need to tell him that we expect the United States to act to reduce the number of guns crossing into Canada. We want to protect the Arctic. The United States refuses to recognize the Northwest Passage, insisting it's an international waterway, even though it flows through Canadian Arctic waters. We need the United States to recognize the Northwest Passage as being Canadian waters. We need to reduce Canada's vulnerability in the first place. We need to be stronger. There needs to be more trade barriers between provinces than between Canada and the United States. That's true. Let's launch a national project to get rid of these barriers. It shouldn't be harder for BC and Quebec to trade than for BC and America. And if we're going to be attacked by these people, we might as well start trading with gotta make up the difference of some of the loss we're going to have against the United States in the coming years by being stronger internally. Let's launch a national project to get rid of these barriers and strengthen the ties that bind the nation. This is such a great article, Jean. We have to understand that Mr. Trump isn't just threatening us. He's targeting a growing list of other countries as well as the European Union itself. He's just getting started. Canada should convene a meeting of the leaders of Denmark, Panama, Mexico, as well as European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to formulate a plan on fighting back these threats. One thing I kind of disagree with is I think we need a military strategy as well. Sorry, Jean, I do. I think we need a military. I think we need to look like Switzerland here. Every time Mr. Trump opens his mouth, he creates new allies for us. So let's get organized to fight back against a big, powerful bully. You need strength in numbers to do that. The whole point is to not wait and dread for Trump's next blow. It's to build a country and international community that can withstand these blows. Canadians know me. They know I'm an optimist. They know I'm practical, and I always speak my mind. I made my share of mistakes over a long career, and he did. Sure as hell did. And some of them I was very, very loud about. When I was at the height of my political radicalism, Chrétien was the guy in power. So, hey, I know these liberals have not generally been... I've never been a liberal. You know, I voted for them a couple times. Yeah, I've voted conservative before. I've voted NDP before. So throughout my life, where I was, my opinions and my policies, my ideas changed based on what was going on or who was running or whatever, right? So the current and future generations of political leaders should remember they are not each other's enemies. They are opponents. Nobody ever loved the cut and thrust politics more than me, says Chrétien. But I understood that each of us was trying to make a positive contribution to make a community or country a better place. Our spirit is more important now than we address this need. So he's 91. He says he's blessed with good health. I'm ready at the ramparts to help defend the independence of our country as I've done all my life. Published on the 11th of January, 2025. Written by former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. Okay, well, that's the bad news show for today. Hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. We will see you back here again. Also, make sure to go check out Cutoff Creek Part 3, airing at noon today. Part 3 is, in fact, I'll probably put that out before this, I think. We'll see. So Cutoff Creek coming at you today, part 3, and then pretty soon I'm going to put all 3 of those parts together into a full movie. So you want to talk about wildfires, and why don't you accept the fact that here on this channel, wildfire expertise is something you're going to get a lot of. Something that I'm really good at, something I know a lot about, something I spent a lot of my life doing now. I've been on a lot of fires, love fire, love training, love being trained, love training others. So that's what you get here on this channel. Anyways, that's the bad news show for today. We'll come back at you with the weather forecast in the near future. Okay, bye now, everybody. Have a great day.